Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the August Library Board meeting, called to order at 5:30. Item number 2, public appearances, non-agenda items.
Nope, haven't gotten emails, and there's nobody here.
Me either. Cool. Item number 3, approval of the July minutes. May I have a motion to approve the July board meeting draft minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John.
Are there any comments, edits, discussion?
It looked fine to me.
I have one edit.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't there.
Yeah.
It says on the draft minutes, April 17th. Is that incorrect?
At the very top.
I have a calendar. There's one place I didn't bring my phone, so I don't have my calendar.
That would have been
April 17th.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
for July.
Oh, I see what you mean. I gotcha. No, that's not correct. We will fix that.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what day that was.
You're a good copy
Thank you.
editor, Ann.
I was a little confused.
All right, we will fix that. Anything else?
Wonder if that was also wrong on the May.
We'll go back and look.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Cool. Anything else from anybody? All in favor of approving the July agenda board or library board agenda meeting notes? Say aye.
Aye.
I abstain. I was not here.
And an abstention.
And I will abstain. I was not there.
Cool. Motion carries. I believe it carries with 2 members.
Best we can do.
Yep. All right. Item number 3, financial report. Can I get a motion to approve the May 2024 financial register and overview?
I'll make a motion to approve
Thank
the
you, Ann.
register.
All right, not a lot to point out this month. I did want to, under account 240 in the register, there's a charge there from Nichols Electrical. So I think I probably mentioned this, but we have struggled since the library opened really with the bottom of the steps, the main set of steps. The tile on the steps and the tile on the floor is the same color, and we've had a number of people tumble there. So we started by putting down a strip at the bottom that had a yellow strip on it to kind of catch people's eyes. And then we put white strips up like 3 steps, and we finally decided the only real way to fix the problem was to put in a light there. I think there should have been one always. So they came in and retrofitted that. And I'm happy to say that, as far as I'm aware, nobody has tumbled down the stairs since then. They have fallen up the stairs on their phone at the top, but I'm not taking responsibility for that. Otherwise, it was a pretty uneventful month. Let me see if there's anything in the overview. No, I think we're in good shape. Any questions?
Is there any significance to the yellow for some of the items?
It just means that it's over 5,000.
I see.
Yeah.
And then what's the threshold that we have to sign off on spending items?
So if it's between 5,000 and 25,000, Ann approves it.
Okay.
And if it's over 25,000, then the whole board approves it.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Wendy, I did have a question.
Yeah.
On the monthly copier lease, so
Yes.
we're spending close to $2,000 to lease a copier.
Four
and
copiers.
I'm sure we get four copiers.
Uh-huh.
Do you, how much money are we losing a month with that?
A fair bit. Good news is we're up, the copier contract is up in May of next year. And we are participating in a project with the city IT department to do kind of, they brought someone in to do an assessment of what is being used, how much, what the needs really are. So I anticipate, and we'll talk about that when we get to the next year's budget, I anticipate that being less next year.
Excellent, thank you.
Yes.
I really like having the copy machine out here available.
Yes. I think
hope we don't
it's
get-
a little more robust than maybe it needs to be for the number of copies that we do.
Yeah.
So I think there's some changes. I believe we have the Cadillac of copiers,
Yeah.
which is lovely,
Yeah.
but very expensive. Any other questions?
No? Cool. All right, if there's no more questions, all in favor to approve the May 2024 financial register and overviews, say aye.
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 All opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Motion carries. Obviously, there are no. All righty, on to item 5, unfinished business. There is none that I'm aware of. I know we have none.
Correct.
Item number 6, new business. All right, so let me go to our list. We have, do we want to do the,
Yeah, let's have Phil do his presentation about the Access Services Department first.
thank you.
So we'll share his screen so everyone can see.
Get this shared here. All right, there we go.
Excellent.
All right, thanks for having me here today. My name's Phil. I'm the head of the Access Services Department at the library. I think I've met everyone here before, which is nice. So, but yeah, in Access Services, the real kind of short way of what we say is we kind of handle materials coming in and out of the building and all the steps of getting patrons connected with those items directly. But it really breaks into kind of 4 different like main categories of what we have. Customer service is kind of all pervasive for what we do. Obviously, that's the number one priority that we have, and it kind of flows and works through all of the other functions that we have. We operate and staff the circulation desk, which is the main desk right by the front entrance. So it's the busiest desk in the building, and we always joke around saying it's the desk that can never close. We always have to have somebody there. And that's kind of the more like public function of what we have, but there are a lot of things in the back room that we work on as well. I know that this group has seen the sorter probably a couple of times in the back, and there's a lot of kind of processes that we go through that way as well. So I thought I'd just kind of walk through real briefly some of those functions that we handle in the department. But before I jumped into that, I want to talk a little bit about the staff that we have. We're about 18 staff members in the building, 7.5 FTE. So we're numbers-wise the biggest in the building, with several kind of overlapping types of employees that we have. There's 3 full-time people. There's me, and then we have Rachel and Jen are our 2 full-time library assistant 3s. The 3 of us are all building supervisors, and we sort of provide sort of the expert knowledge for all of the circulation questions and kind of weird issues that pop up throughout the day, kind of every day. The desk workers that we have, they staff the desk as well. We have 3 20-hour-a-week library assistant 1 employees, and then we have 1 10-hour-a-week library assistant 1 as well. The 10-hour-a-week covers weekend coverage for us to help out with Sundays and help staff the building that way. So between the full-time employees and the 4 desk workers, we staff that desk every hour of the day that we're open. And then kind of working in the background, out in the stacks or in the back room, we have 11 shelvers working 10 hours a week. So that's about 110 hours a week that we have of keeping the back room running, getting books back onto the shelves, and doing all that processing and emptying the sorter that we had talked about as well. So kind of all together, we kind of work to kind of keep things rolling as well as we can here. The desk itself, like I said, this is like the real kind of like public-facing part that people are probably most familiar with. We handle all manner of patron questions that come in when we handle our, a lot of it is because of proximity, to be honest, but when we do our statistical gathering every year of how many directional questions, how many reference questions we get, circulation typically has the most. We're right at the front desk. We get a lot of questions of where the meeting rooms are, where different items are in the building. We get, where's a good place for lunch? Where's my car? You know, kind of stuff like that. So a little bit of everything. Obviously, we handle checkout for patrons. We help them check things out. We get them signed up with library cards. We help maintain those cards and renew their accounts as they come due. We help out with placing holds, and we manage the hold shelf, which is a pretty, I'll show you the statistics for that in a minute here. It's a pretty constant operation that we have. We take payments on lost and damaged items at the desk, although it's obviously pretty few and far between. It's been quite a few years since we got rid of library fines, which has cut down on that, which has been really positive. And then we handle checkout of some of the circulating technology in the building as well. Laptops, which I think we have the laptop checkout policy coming up a little bit later. And we also check out Kindles and Rokus to patrons, power chargers for phones and laptops in the building as well. So we kind of manage those kind of overlapping tasks that we have and kind of trying to quantify that stuff. Last year we did about 306,000 checkouts. So that ends up for days we were open, it's about 900 items a day. Of those items, about 78,000 of them were holds. So that hold shelf, it's about a quarter of what we end up doing. So I always look at that as a really good sign because it means 25% of the checkout we do is planned, is people planning on coming here and getting things, which I always look at as being really good. 232 a day is kind of the average for what we get. We get delivery 5 days a week, so ends up working out that way. We also process our book drops, the sorter included, but also the 2 internal book drops that we have, and that's about 233,000 items that we check in each year as well, about another 689 items per day. And then this number is great and is up a bit, but we also, last year in 2023, we signed up 1,268 new library accounts, which is really good. It's usually in that ballpark, but it's up a little bit, which is nice. So those are kind of the things that end up flowing at the front desk, but they're also sort of incorporated and interwoven with working in the back as well. For the back workroom, we obviously do a lot of check-in back there as well. We get our red bin deliveries, like I mentioned. Those are items that are on hold for our patrons. There's items that were owned by Fitchburg but delivered to another library or returned to another library in the system, and also outgoing deliveries for both of those categories as well. So our items that are heading out to fill holds at other libraries, or if we get items returned from Madison or Middleton or Verona, we process those and send them back. So we do most of that holds processing in the back room, but some of it's done on the desk during quieter times when we're able to. Outer library loan is a pretty small process, but an important process. It's where we are able to order books that are not in the LinkCat South Central catalog. So there's about, I think it's like 3.5 million books in South Central, but if it's like a particularly academic kind of book or like a textbook or something like that, we often have to order them from outside of the system. We don't do the ordering, but we do all the physical handling of the item and getting it to the patron. Unfortunately, coming with item check-in comes with some problem items that we deal with as well. We have damaged items that we kind of handle and decide whether or not we're going to have to charge for them or whether or not we're able to mend it. We have items pretty much every day returned without, like the most common is a DVD case without the disc inside of it, so we follow up with the patrons to get that stuff put back together and sent on its way. And then we get, like, on DVDs as well, we get items returned that's like discs with scratches in them and stuff like that, and things that need to be repaired, items with torn pages or something like that. So we do a lot of item repair for the physical books and for media as well, and that's kind of all, those are all kind of processes that work in the back room. Looking at kind of quantifying that, for our delivery, we sent out 171,000 items last year, and we received 172. So that's another 344,000 items or so that we received through our delivery service. So it's another 1,320 per day. That ends up being about 8,600 red bins that we process, or doing the math out, it's about 33 per day that we end up processing with both incoming and outgoing. So that's always a process that works on and on throughout the day. It's always tempting in the morning when we get our big red bin delivery to just run everything through the sorter, but if we do that, then it'll be overflowing on the floor and everything will get messed up. So it's a real ongoing process of having people progressively do it throughout the day and keep things rolling. So, and then one of the last little bit that's kind of the least seen part of it is the stacks management aspect of access services, which is primarily what people see is shelving. So obviously getting returned items back out onto the shelves. We ran an average on carts and found there was about 150 items per cart. So if we're looking at about 900 items per day, it's usually about 6 full carts that we have to shelve. That'll obviously ebb and flow and go up and down depending on which time of the week we're at. But we run a pick list every day as well. If you've ever received a hold on our hold shelf here, that's the list we run every morning and kind of consistently throughout the day to pull items from our shelves that are for patrons to pick up on hold and to send out to other libraries for them to pick up as well. And then two of the sort of thankless but really important aspects that we do of shelf reading and shifting. Shelf reading is just literally making sure everything is on the shelf in the right order. It is very boring and very important. So we find ways to make sure people aren't doing the same thing over and over again and they're not doing it too much. But if we don't do it enough, then patrons have a hard time finding things. So we work on that as well. And shifting is usually like larger projects or moving things around if we're relocating things in the building or if we've weeded or withdrawn a large section, making sure that there aren't sections in the shelves that are over full and then areas that are empty. So that's kind of the long and short of the workflow process. Obviously, you've all seen the new sorter, which was a big deal for us as well. We had in late 2023, we got rid of the big blue machine on the left and got the new Envisionware sorter, which is working great. A lot of changes to the room itself. I tried to find a picture without the, we have them around, but without the carpet, because on the left, it's actually after we got the carpet installed, but before we got the new sorter. It was a raw concrete floor back there for 12 years or so. So big changes in the room and a lot of really, really nice quality of life upgrades in that room, which have been really well appreciated. And the new sorter is kind of what we were always told sorters would be. It's actually very intelligent and handles things. It sorts with a really, really high accuracy and much higher accuracy than the last one. So very happy with it. So.
Yeah.
Has you noticed a change in the amount of books going through the sorter as opposed to somebody coming inside?
That's a good question. I don't think so, but we actually still get more stuff returned inside than outside. Okay. So, but not by a ton, like maybe 60% or like 60% inside, 40% outside.
Okay.
So, we've had a really good response from patrons. There was obviously some getting used to the new system that was to be expected.
There were a few rocky months.
2024 has been great. 2023 is a little rocky, but people, they bared with us as we were working through it, and we got a lot of really positive feedback from it because it'll actually tell people the title that they're returning. It'll kind of confirm that it's been checked in correctly. And
I think people feel a lot more confident that their item has been returned because it comes up with the barcode on the screen.
Right.
Yeah, 'cause I have seen people actually park their car and then go to the outdoor one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because of the drive-through, I think
Yeah.
we just find it more difficult to use that.
Well, and if you put it in the inside one, it doesn't come off right away.
Man.
So I think, there are people that just like that.
Exactly. And
Insurance.
it's kind of the self-check, the quality of the self-checks that we have in the building too, of if kids are involved in the transaction, they want to use the self-check.
Yeah.
We get a lot of kids who it's the last aspect of it, and using the machine is kind of fun. So yeah. And then, just to kind of weave it back in, obviously customer service is, number one of what we end up doing. It's more obvious at the circulation desk here, and it's actually funny when I was looking at that, there's actually 2 things in this picture that don't exist anymore. But
The pillar's there.
the pillar and the playaways behind the desk are not there anymore either. But
Yeah.
really, it kind of weaves through all the other processes that we do as well. All the processing in the back room is to get things off of patrons' cards as quickly as possible so they can get an accurate look at what they're looking at. Getting the holds processed quickly is making sure they're getting what they want and what they need as quickly as possible. And just we do view that as being sort of all-encompassing for all of the tasks that we do, that they're all customer service related. So that's kind of a brief overview of the circ department.
Yep.
So access services. So
A lot of stuff. There's always a lot of stuff.
So, always a lot of moving parts. So,
Yes. When we're interviewing, I always like to say, it just never ends. Like you think you finish you finish the last cart, and by the time you get back to the back room, there's more for you.
Find more for you to do. So we've never run out of stuff to do. So, but yeah, no, it's great. So
Yeah. Excellent.
excellent. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
And now we get into policies.
Policies, yeah.
All righty. Policy reviews. All right, so our first one, collection management policy. Can I get a motion?
Wait, we're on circulation.
Ooh, am I on the last month's notes?
That might be,
I am on.
yep, that was last month.
Yep, I was looking at last month. Yep. Hold on, let me get back. Let's go. All right, can I get a motion to approve the 2024 updated circulation policy?
I move approval.
Thank you, Jim. All right.
Okay. And we'll just have Phil kind of go through each one, what the changes are.
Sure. Yeah, this, always the circulation policy is the one with the most changes.
Yeah.
It is the one that gets kind of relied on the most. Most of the issues and most of the changes we had with this were kind of like formatting based. So we removed we started off by removing a redundant listing of the fact that accounts and fines are sort of honored between all the libraries of the South Central system, and we have that covered later on in the policy. As we took out some information we took out a section in the middle of like loan periods that wasn't particularly accurate anymore and was better handled in a different way. One of the items that we still wanted to keep in the policy but wanted to find a new place for was the senior account status that we can set for patrons that are age 65 and older. So we wanted to make sure to keep that in there. There's only a handful of libraries in Dane County that charge fines, but it's still an important thing that we do. So we wanted to find another spot to make sure to maintain that. Going down a little bit further onto the second page, we wanted to update the first bullet point on limitations on borrowing because once upon a time, it was just you had to either have your library card or a valid photo ID, but with our new self-check machines, patrons can type in their card number and PIN number. So we wanted to make sure that was reflected in here as well, that there is sort of that third option for people to check out. There was actually, and I apologize, I forgot to put a little note on it, but at the bottom of that second page under holds, I just, on the second bullet point, I struck out the 8 for 7 days before they expire. When holds come in, they sit on our hold shelf for 7 days now. Patrons have a week to come pick them up before they end up going on to the next person. For about a decade, it was 8 days because of a software error, and it's been fixed. So now it's actually 7 days. So it took us, it finally got updated. So we got that in there. So onto the third page is where we ended up taking out some information. The overdue fines we found a new spot for, and the loan periods were generally accurate, but we actually have a lot more flexibility in some of these due dates, so we decided that it was better to not list it and have incorrect information, especially when the due dates themselves are always set by the owning library, so those items that come in on the hold shelf could have a very different due date from what we would set. And even in the building, we have 14-day books and 28-day books, and we have 7, 14, and 28-day DVDs and stuff like that.
I think if we continue to try to list this, it was just going to get longer and longer and more complicated.
So how does somebody figure that out? How long?
Generally just a checkout. So they can ask us ahead of time too.
Sure.
But no, it is a kind of a limitation of the system as patrons can't really see until they come to check it out.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Sometimes you place a reserve and you think it's going to be 28 days, but you get it from another library that has it at 14.
Yeah.
And then you're mad about it. I am. I want more time.
We get a lot of patrons who will put a hold on the regular print and the large print of a book at the same time just to see which one comes first. And then they come in at the same time and they're like, which one can I have longer? Which, fair enough. So yeah, it's a good thing. I don't know why we had it before, but now that, we're doing about a quarter of our checkout from libraries that we don't set those due dates anyways. So, so we decided to kind of strike that. I think on page 4 is just where we had relocated the aspect that we don't charge fines on any items, but if they check out items at other libraries, that those fines are dictated by the library at which they checked the item out. So we still have to honor that way. Like I said, I think there's 2 libraries in Dane County that charge fines, so it's pretty rare that it pops up anymore, but we just want to make sure that people are aware that it could happen. And then the last thing that we had was just a procedural change on handling refunds. We're not able to apply refunds that people get for, if they lose an item and they pay for it and then they return it within the 3-month period that we have for refunded items. The policy said that we would apply those charges and fines to other items and other charges on their card, but the system doesn't actually work that way. It really messes things up when we do that way. So what we end up doing is just cutting a check and mailing it to the patron when that happens. It can really get complicated because they might have one of our lost books and like a lost book from McFarland or something like that. And then if we get a refund and pay off McFarland with it, then McFarland is just out their money. So we have to, it's basically procedurally, it works a lot better for us to mail it.
Your transactions separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to keep them kind of isolated and separate that way. So we just updated that section of the policy and removed a little bit of language that wasn't really accurate anymore. So and I think that was it for that policy.
Okay.
Bill, I have a question for you.
Sure.
On this. So when I utilize the library, I get my barcode on LinkCat. You know, so I don't bring in my library card. I just have it there. Do you think it would be helpful to list that is an option for people? I don't know if this is the right place or somewhere else, or what do you think about that?
That's a good question. I mean, we do have it covered sort of procedurally in here, but maybe there's something that we could add to like our borrowing guide or something that we give patrons when they sign up for library cards to update it to say specifically you can check out here with your library card with the driver's license or with your library card number and PIN number. So that's a good idea. Would that kind of cover that, do you think? Does that seem like a reasonable solution to that? Or?
Yeah, I think so, because I don't even use my PIN. I just
So you've got the barcode on your phone that you can scan on the self-checks?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's just an option on LinkCat to show your barcode.
Yep.
And then when you click on that option, your barcode pops up and you can just use that in the self-checkout.
And I think there are other
really
apps
convenient.
also that you can keep a bunch of things.
The scanners on the new self-checks we have, if you even just take a photo of your library card, it'll usually scan it too. So that's a good idea of kind of, it's like briefly reflected here, but maybe having it reflected in something that's a lot more present for patrons.
Yeah, in the borrower's guide, if we say, if we change the language to say that you just need the barcode.
Exactly. No, that sounds great.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, if not, all in favor of approving the circulation policy, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. On to the Community Bulletin Board policy. Can I get a motion to approve the Community Bulletin Board policy for 2024? I will
I'll make a motion to approve.
We got several, all right. I don't see any updates here.
Correct.
Cool. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns about the Community Bulletin Board? If not, all in favor of approving the Community Bulletin Board policy, say aye.
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 All opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Next up, library checkout policy. Can I get a motion to approve the laptop checkout policy?
I move approval.
Thank you, Jim. All right.
Yeah, we did have a few updates for this one here. We added the first change that we had, or the first update that we had was sort of a procedural update on how we end up checking them out to patrons. Nothing's changed that any patron can check out a laptop. They just either need to have a library card or a driver's license with them to do so. What we end up doing in a lot of cases is, even if a patron has a blocked account, when possible, we'll check it out to their card. And if we're able to do that, we don't need to keep their ID at the desk. But if we're not able to actually check the item out to their card, as in if their card is expired or something like that, where we're not able to update it that way, then in those instances, we do hold their driver's license at the desk, because there's no paper trail as to who has the laptop. So we wanted to just add a little flexibility into it here of just saying that they may need to leave their photo ID at the desk, but we really try not to unless we have to. It's most of the time that it happens, it's just someone who's here. Honestly, usually it's for a meeting don't have a library card. They can just leave their driver's license at the desk. But whenever possible, we'll check it out that way. So we wanted to update it to make sure that we weren't keeping more information than we needed to when we didn't have to. So,
Sure.
we updated a very small update in the next one of if a laptop is removed from library property. It said that we will contact law enforcement when that happens, and we updated that to a may to give us a little bit more flexibility as well. We've had one instance with this over 13 years, and it was someone who was in contact with us the whole time, so it was one of those things where that was an instance where it wasn't reasonable for us to call the police on someone who accidentally took it out of the building. So we wanted to add a little bit of flexibility in there too, to try to not be too overbearing. So, and then another small procedural change that we've had, we occasionally bump into instances with patrons checking laptops out at kind of the last second of the day, and then it ends up leading to us having a hard time getting the building closed down and getting staff out on time. So we just added something in here saying that we can't check laptops out within 30 minutes of closing, because that gives patrons time to get it checked out, get set up, and actually use it and print from it or whatever they're using, and put into the codified into the policy what we've always told patrons, which is that they need to return it within 15 minutes of closing, because that's when we really start our backroom shutdown procedures and stuff like that. So I just wanted to add a little bit more padding in there to make sure we're able to close the building on time, but also to not give patrons, an incorrect view on what they're actually going to be able to do. It's not fair to give someone a laptop 10 minutes before we close and then 5 minutes later tell them they have to leave. So those are the three changes that we had kind of added in there.
So that happens regularly, that people check out a laptop right at closing?
Not super regularly, but our computer system logs everyone out at 10 minutes till.
Sure.
And occasionally we'll get someone who's like really desperate to check something out, and it pretty much never works correctly. So because you can still technically print from the laptops afterwards, but by the time we go get it and get it back to them and get it checked out, it never really ends up working that way. So
I have a hard time imagining why you check out a laptop to print out something or do something quickly when there's computers everywhere.
Yeah.
I think it happens less now that you can send things to the copier from your device.
From your phone. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, no, it's pretty rare, but we thought it would be helpful just in
Clarify.
case. Yeah. So.
How many laptops are available?
We have 4. So, yeah.
Cool. All right, any other questions or comments about the laptop checkout policy? Nope. All right, all in favor of approving the laptop checkout policy, say aye.
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 All opposed, abstentions, motion carries. On to the privacy of library records and library use. Can I get a motion to approve the privacy of library records and library use policy? I will make that motion. Looks like no changes here either.
Correct. And this is basically all statute.
Yeah, the vast majority of it is just the Wisconsin state statutes on library privacy.
Yeah.
So.
Any discussion around this policy? Okay. All in favor of approving the privacy of library records and library use, say aye.
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 All opposed, abstentions, motion carries. And can I get a motion to approve the theft of library materials policy?
I'll move approval.
Thank you, Jim. I'll Also looks like no changes here.
Correct. And all
I imagine, yep.
It's that one sentence saying it's just the statute, so.
Cool. All right, any discussion here? Questions, comments, concerns? Nope. All in favor of approving the theft of library materials policy, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Excellent.
And then
I will
budget.
let Phil run away now
Oh, yep.
and get back to the circulation
Run back
desk.
to the circ desk. So, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
All right, so I know we motioned and approved this last time. Should we do the same
Yes,
again?
please.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the 2025 budget expenditure?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John.
So this is still in draft form, but there have been some changes, some good, some bad. You'll notice that the net new construction came in at 3%. We were expecting 2%, so that's fantastic. We also are getting an adjustment for a TID closure that is covering some expenses for new positions that was added to the administrative fee that we paid to the city. The two major things that I have changed here since you last saw this are going to be accounts 365, that's utilities. I'm taking that down so we have the new chiller and we are in the process of getting new solar inverters. That was going well for a while and now it's stopped again, but I am hopeful that we will have fully functioning solar soon. So I reduced that because we were not able to balance otherwise. I don't know that I think this is a smart thing to do. Our last power bill still came in at $8,000. If anything changes and their money comes back in, which happens usually at the last minute, we can get some extra money from things just even out the other, like insurance final numbers come in, final numbers from the city for different services. This is where I will put it. If that doesn't happen, then there's a potential for a budget amendment later in 2025 if this is not enough, but I'm hopeful that we won't need that. We'll see. The other place that I decreased was in leases and rentals. That's the copier lease. So I took that down a little bit in hopes that we're going to have a less expensive contract. I think everything else has stayed the same. We may have some more I think some of the numbers were finalized from the city. Technology allocation, I think, was finalized, and we didn't have that last time. So we are balanced at the moment. One account that I'm slightly nervous about, but not totally uncomfortable with, and that's where we sit right now. I have had meetings with the city administrator, the finance director, and the mayor over this. So the mayor will, I don't believe, will be making changes to this before it goes out in her recommended budget that then the council makes amendments to. Typically, because the library board has statutory power over the budget, there aren't changes made through amendments. So we're close. It will go to council, I believe, in early November. Does that sound right, Jim, for final?
November.
Yeah. So then we will see it that one more time to okay, as the library board, the final version. But I always like to have drafts in front of you just so you know where we're going.
Sure.
Any questions, concerns?
So we're supposedly getting more money, but it looks like most of that got eaten up by city fees and stuff.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So we always see a lot of it go to salaries and wages. I mean, insurance, we do COLA increases. This includes a 2% COLA increase and then also merit increases.
Sure.
I think there's some talk about maybe some of the COLA coming out of the referendum, but I don't know where that has landed. So that potentially could change and give us a little bit more money to put into utilities.
All right, so we just got to hope for good weather and
Yeah.
nothing breaking down.
Right.
Okay. Fingers crossed.
Yep.
Cool. Any questions for Wendy? All right, if not, all in favor of approving the 2025 budget, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? And motion carries. All right, and President's report, that's me. Okay, so for the next meeting, we will have Wendy's Director Performance Evaluation. So what that looks like is around the beginning of the month, I will be getting information from the city, including the staff evaluation forms, and then I will put that all together, send that out to y'all about as quickly as I can get that, so expect that sometime around the beginning of September. And then you will be able to do your evaluations, which will be on a Google Doc similar to last year. So you'll have that information, you'll be able to review it and then put in your own notes and send that all to me. And then before next month's meeting, I will get all that from y'all, aggregate it, and then after the open board meeting, there will be a closed board meeting. And then during that closed board meeting is where we will review that aggregated review and then, approve Wendy's performance review.
Yeah.
So I will send that all out in email and stuff. But it should be very similar to last year. I think all of us, at least on this meeting right here, have been around for a while now. So very similar to this, the old process. So expect that beginning of September. And then I will badger you if I don't get it back relatively with, probably the week of the board meeting. And that's it from me.
Okay.
On to item number 8, Library Director Report. Turn it over to Wendy.
All right, so starting with the July 2024 statistics, there was one item that wasn't included here that I did get, and that is summer reading participants. So for adults, we had 148, so a total of 687. This is lower than we were before the pandemic, but pretty consistent with the last couple of years. So yeah, I think we're happy enough with that. Everything else looks good. We're always busier during the summer, so numbers are up kind of across the board, and I think programming is going pretty well right now as well, so that's good. Any questions on statistics? All right.
Good.
Facilities. So the garage door is finally working. They went through like 4 iterations of it, of putting parts in and it making giant loud noises and scaring people and not working, and we're very happy to have that up and running. I gather that it took a lot of talking to the manufacturer of the board that goes in there before they figured something out. And then like magic, they put it in and it immediately worked and it was over in like half an hour. So
Good.
It's been great. We have not gotten a bill for that, so I will share that with you when we do. Expect it to be fairly sizable. People counters. We installed new people counters last week. So when I was at PLA, Phil and I were at PLA, we were in the exhibit hall and found a vendor called Facility Site that do people counters that are just little sensors in the ceiling. And so it just uses AI and it sees just people coming and going, so it can count people in the building, out of the building. In the past, we have relied on our security gates for people counting. We would do 2 sample weeks a year. We had to put caution tape along the side because we really needed to funnel people into the middle of the gates, so it was not a great system. In the past, I had looked at different software and sensors for people counting. It was very expensive, and this was reasonable, and so we were real excited about it. Eventually, the goal is to take down the security gates. So we've got 3 sets of gates, 1 upstairs, 2 downstairs. They are technically ADA compliant, but they are not user-friendly, so strollers just keep getting bigger, and they're starting to hit the gates. Wheelchairs, it's real hard, especially if you're leaving the library. The handicap button, you have to hit from one side of the gate, but then you have to go through the gate, which is almost impossible to do in the time that the door is open. So I think this will be a big improvement. And we have like a dashboard that we can open, and we can see how many people are in the building at any given time, which is fantastic. We can see it compares like today to this day last week. You can do that by the day. You can do that by the hour. You can get all kinds of reports out of this. So we're very excited about it. Yeah.
Have you been able to validate those numbers? Do they look the same as
They do.
what we would expect?
They do.
Okay.
I've been watching it real close, both by the day and by the week.
Okay, good.
To see if it's what I expected it to be. I mean, I always want it to be higher than it is, right?
Sure.
but it is within what our last sample week was, so.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, so very happy with that. We had to make a change to the upstairs one, and I emailed them at like 8 this morning, and we had it done by like 9:30. So they've been very responsive. I really like the company, so happy about that. Conference room, 2 conference rooms to talk about. So the existing conference room, we replaced the monitor in that room. It was original to the building, and it did not fail, but we wanted to replace it before it failed. And we have some strategic planning money in the equipment account. So we went ahead and did that. And now we redid all the cabling. So there was a lot of cabling that went into the wall behind the TV, down into the floor boxes. And there were like component cables down there that I haven't used in 100 years. And they were all tied up with zip ties and had never been used. So we yanked that out. There was a VGA cable that is old technology. We took that out. There remains an HDMI cable, and then we also got a casting device, so people with Apple laptops can plug in via USB-C, and it will cast right to the TV. And it works like it's super easy. Just kind of starts itself and does what it needs to do. We are keeping that piece of equipment at the reference desk for checkout. So just to make sure that we get it back every time. The staff conference room that we are getting ready to build in the previous art gallery, I just got an email today that the wall will be going up on the 30th of September. We're working on changing out lights in there for fans because there's not an air vent in there. So we can keep air moving. The tables have already arrived. I'm holding off on chairs until the last minute because I want to get as many as we can based on the rest of the cost of the project. So this is a CIP project that we have been planning on. So very excited about that. That's all for facilities. Personnel, we are fully staffed except for shelvers. So we've had a couple of shelvers go off to college. So we have that posted right now for, I think, 4 positions. And we'll do interviews in a couple of weeks here. And hopefully get back up and running for the school year at full staff. Strategic planning, we're still a little bit on hold as the city works on theirs, but we'll get to it. And that is all for the director's report.
Cool. Thank you, Wendy.
Yeah.
Anything else for Wendy? All right, announcements. The next library board meeting will be on Wednesday, September 18th at 5:30 in this same library conference room. And if there's nothing else, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Jim. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Hi.
All right, thank you, everyone.